We heard you. We heard you.
I wanted to repeat it to make sure
we heard. Yeah, I think
I
you
don't
just
want that.
I think
Marcus,
you just wanted that.
I don't want it.
Look, I'm guys. I'm really
Brian,
tired.
Brian said, "I don't want it.
I don't want
I don't want it.
I don't
want
either.
the discussion.
Marcus,
Forgive me for my wrongs, I have just begun. Ain't no mercy, ain't no mercy. Huh. Got that purple Lamborghini lurking. Ain't no mercy, ain't no mercy. Huh. Got that purple Lamborghini lurking. Rose! Don't be begging for your life, cause that's a lost cause. High stakes, body armor, suicide.
Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. How are you all feeling? Greetings from the Rocky Mountain State. That's Colorado. From old Rocky Top. That's Tennessee.
Wow.
Greetings from Tennessee, everybody. It's good to be with you all. It's a great Monday to be with you all. I just want to put this out there. This is going to be weird because you're going to watch, if you're listening to this or you're watching this, you're going to listen to mind our P's and Q's because we really want to stress this. And I want to stress this from right out of the gate. We are pro eating the rich and we are pro eating the rich and supporting the strike. I just want to make that very clear.
Right out of the gate.
The jump of I don't want to miss words. I want to say good for SAG for standing up for themselves, but it's going to be weird. So if you feel us looking at each other and being is that the right word? It's going to be a lot of is that the right terminology? And that's just, it is what it is. And that's just where we're at. So we're very happy to be with you all. We've got a unique episode. We're each brought a movie that we're going to talk about and say whether or not we enjoyed. So yeah, but it's going to be good. We're going to break down some news. It's going to be a good episode overall. But in order to do it right, I'm going to kick it on over to one Brian Roush. Brian Roush, aka James Rhodes. Where are you? How you feeling, sir?
You know what? I'm feeling great. Had a great weekend. So got some good pool time, got some good outside time with the kids. Roman Myers in the chat feels like there's been a lot of weird episodes lately. Look,
we're not getting to that 90-minute mark. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, we are.
We understand once we hit 90 minutes, things.
The 90-minute monster.
The 90-minute monster. That's the best way to put it.
It's just a culmination of orange and black in our logo, and it just turns into this really giant shadow monster. But yeah, no, feeling good. I was able to watch a lot of great stuff. I'm almost done with my Breaking Bad rewatch, which is first and foremost on my mind for some reason. So I only have the finale left.
Brian's not playing no fucking games.
No,
man.
I'm not. Now with this show, it's an all-time classic. It's easily my favorite. It's easily my favorite drama.
Understandable.
So we're there with that. Honestly, my mind right now, we're taking the family up to Minnesota this weekend.
Yeah.
We're up there for a week. So my mind right now is on lists and what do we need to pack, and it's a big family vacation. We're meeting up with my parents and then going up to Duluth. So feeling good, getting ready for that trip. And ready to talk some movies. I'm excited for this new format. 3 movies, each one different from each of us. I'm very excited to see how it goes.
Brian, are you driving?
We are driving
from Chicago to Minnesota.
So we're going to go Chicago to Minneapolis, and then we're going to go Minneapolis to Duluth, and then we're going to go from Duluth, Minnesota to Brainerd to see some friends, and then Brainerd to home. So it's going to be an old-fashioned road trip, but it's not going to be the Disney road trip where I was stuck in a car with a 1-year-old crying for 18 hours. That broke me. So it's 6 to 7 hour jaunts max. No one's sleeping in the car. So it's going to be all right. And the kids get to enjoy.
You get to enjoy the North Star State at its finest. You get to go and just experience it to the max, and I'm very excited for you.
All 10,000
What is the North Star? Oh, okay, never mind. I got it.
Minnesota,
as soon as you say lakes, I figure I put 2 and 2 together. So I got it. I want to move to Minnesota. I feel like it is a safe blue.
I mean,
it might be
there's-
almost too blue, but like I feel like I might want that in my life.
There's a very good quality of life. They have an excellent parks program. Like the main barrier for a lot of people is that like winter does stick around for like 6 months.
shit.
I'm not exaggerating. And if I could bring Maggie on the podcast right now, like for the first 10 years of our relationship, when I moved here to Illinois, I was like, man, when does winter start for y'all? What's going on? It's way too warm in November. Oh my gosh, it's already hitting 50 degrees in April. And like Maggie was like, what is wrong with you? Like you are broken. Like that's not normal. And I was like, March is the snowiest month and we barely have an inch on the ground. Like it just like it reformulated my calculus of like what weather could be. And now I actually feel like I get to experience all 4 seasons in their distinctness. It's not uncommon for Minnesota to get snow starting in October. And then like you hit 70, your first 70-degree day in like mid-April.
Brian, the year before we moved there in 1991, there was a goddamn blizzard on Halloween, and everybody's costumes were like, hey, does it fit under a coat? And they were like, I don't know, maybe. Like, and so, basically from mid-October through mid-May, you're kind of on the under threat of winter weather. So
I trick-or-treated in that 1991 snowstorm. Shout out to Bill and Peggy Roush who took their kid out in a snowstorm.
Shout out to young Brian Roush for being so committed to the candy.
I only went to like 5 houses, but I did it. So
you did it. You did it. It was worth it.
But yeah, so if you can do that, Marcus, then you'd love it there.
Man. Or I mean, weed's legal now, so you can just be high as hell and not have to worry about it.
Also true.
I could do that here.
You can do that. That is the one thing you can do here.
That's true.
You can't be black in South Dakota, but you can smoke weed to ignore the winter in South Dakota.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I could be black in South Dakota. I'm doing that shit. They don't like it. There's a difference between not liking it.
They don't like it. They don't like it. Rephrase.
But that's a completely different.
Let me rephrase. They don't like it.
They don't like it. That's your bum ass problem. So
Roman, no, we're not going to do that either.
I'm not coming to Iowa. Iowa at one point may have been a great place, but as of late, it's not. It ain't on the top of my list.
You remember when Iowa was like, we legalized gay marriage before everybody else, and now they're like, we hate everyone.
Yeah, they're moving.
I lived in Iowa for 4 years. I enjoyed those 4 years, and I'm good. I love that other people love it, but I'm all set.
All y'all got is the fucking Hawkeyes now. That's it. So enjoy that.
And not even really them. So that's
the fighting Cyclone Redbirds, which I never understood as a mascot, but that's okay.
Either. Brian, anything that you are reading, watching, or listening to that is worth note?
I already talked about Breaking Bad. I'm going to talk about Nimona as my movie that I reviewed. And then honestly, reading, I started reading 2 books. One is called The Kaiju Preservation Society, which essentially the main premise is that there is a guy down on his luck and someone offers him a job and he doesn't really understand it. And the job is taking care of Godzilla-like monsters. And then the second book I'm reading is Where Are Your Boys Tonight, which is an oral history of emo rock from 1999 to 2009, covering the bands of My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Paramore, and a few others. So I'm really excited about
Did someone write that for you? Was that like a gift to Brian Roush?
So shout out to Kelly Jens. I don't know if she listens to the podcast. She is she's a writer for Book Riot. She's also written books, and she popped up on my Facebook feed when we were talking about like, hey, what new favorite albums do you like? I'm like, I'm still listening to the new Fall Out Boy. And she's like, this new book came out in June. You should check it out.
That's amazing.
I'm so grateful because like Dashboard Confessionals on there, like Panic at the Disco, like all of these bands that define like the 2000 to 2009 time period for me. So I'm really excited to hear about all the debauchery. The last band book I read was The Dirt by Motley Crue. So I'm excited.
That kaiju book, who wrote that, Brian?
John Scalzi, who is one of my favorite sci-fi authors.
That sounds like very much my shit. So I'm very excited to hear about that.
Yeah,
that might have to be my next like Audible book. So
it's I'm doing it on Audible and it's narrated by Will Wheaton from Star Trek.
Quit digging your head oil. That's perfect.
Yeah, like it is very much my speed.
It's been a long time since I heard that.
I know,
He's in Star Trek Discovery. I mean, not Discovery. He's in
Picard.
Picard, isn't he?
Yeah.
Doesn't he come back a little bit? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He also narrated Ready Player One, the book, the audiobook for Ready Player One, and that is very good. So
okay, I really wanted to get into that book because I love that movie, but I heard the book is better.
Yeah, it is much better. Marcus J. Destin, aka Scab D's Nuts, how are you doing, sir?
We good. Yeah, I mean, you know me, we thriving and surviving out here. It's a lot of striking. Let me tell y'all now from the beginning, I'm not a scab. Y'all can scab my ass and scab these nuts. So we are a podcast, independent podcast. I just gotta make clear
Marcus
lines
is
in the sand.
Concerned about the roast potential.
Here's the thing. I watched them cook some of these people alive. You know what I mean? And I know what we do. I know the lines that we walk, but y'all got to know we don't work for nobody. All right. We independent naives. Okay. So support your independent podcast. We are not promoting the business down with the corporations. I'm frustrated with all the fucking corporations. The guys will tell you we spent 13 minutes before this podcast and all day early in the morning. I think I dropped something in the chat about fucking making sure we do this the right way. But other than that, you know what I mean? We are good. We here. We thriving. The semester is right around the corner and I just cannot. Ooh, fuck. I can't. The kids will be back soon. And it's scary.
Yeah, dude.
It's very scary.
You also took an 80-question math quiz.
Man, fuck that math.
Whoa.
Listen.
I have a lot of goddamn questions.
It wasn't even a quiz. Here's the thing that pissed me off the most, right? It was 80 questions of homework. Okay.
Yes.
Guess how many questions the test had?
4?
21. So can somebody explain to me how that math is math? And you make me do 80 questions of fucking practice and then 21. Like that shit is ass.
You just tricked yourself into learning more.
That's so stupid. At chapter 11, every other homework assignment has been like maybe 50 questions. Like that's okay. I get that, right? 80?
Yeah.
Hell no. Anyway, I'm here. Excessive. I'm black. I'm still me. I mean, you know, we thriving and surviving. Yeah.
I'm glad that you remain black. Marcus, what are you?
I mean,
what are you reading, watching, and listening to that is worth of note?
Reading, I've been reading much except for this fucking math homework and math assignments. Listening, I'm in a weird rotation of. I am very disappointed with the music scene currently.
Okay,
specifically the hip hop kind of music scene. Because I am just stuck in a rotation of Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole. Like Drake music, I can play at work. It's really easy to listen to Drake music at work because it's clean. You know, and once I put on the clean album, I can just play it. He's got a vibe that's kind of for everything. I pretty much rotate through the same albums when I go to work or when I'm doing work. J. Cole and Kendrick requires a little different part of my brain because they are more lyrical and it's more in depth and requires you to pay attention more. You can't just listen to that. You got to be in a certain headspace sometimes. But other than that, I'm not finding anything that catches my ear or like excites me when it comes to music lately. Yeah. So it's kind of where
you know what I appreciate. I'll say this. You know what I appreciate about Drake is that there are some rappers where you listen to the clean version and it is vastly different. You know what I mean? Because it's just their style. It's just the way their flow is, and it's the way who they are. That they're a little bit more edgy with what they include in terms of what they have content wise. He doesn't have to change a lot. No. Like it's surprisingly not a lot. Like you would think it would be more.
There's a reason he's so popular, and like he's
accessible.
One of like. Yes, and he's one of 5 artists that have had like 12 #1 albums, and the only reason I know that is because I just read a thing about how Taylor Swift just hit that milestone. So like it's like her, Drake, Jay,
hit that milestone.
She just hit it. Her, Drake, Jay, and like the Beatles. I'm pretty sure. So make that Fantastic Four work. I don't know.
And it is what it is. Drake is. And this is not a knock to him. And one day I will start a movie podcast where I can just talk a music podcast where I can just talk music. But he is in the genre of what I call soccer mom music, right? It's the music
gosh.
that you can play when like soccer moms go to pick up their kids in a van.
Right.
If you play the clean version of music, it's not kids boppy, but for the most part, you can have a Drake song in rotation, a Taylor song in rotation, a Beatles song in rotation. Like those artists that you name, like
that's a great way to look at it.
Playlist. So that's what I just
like. It's like pop hop. Like instead of hip hop, it's pop hop.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh.
It's real safe. It's kind of an easier listen. Like when God's Plan comes on, he knows how to sneak those kind of songs in there that gets good competition with like the soccer mom scene, which means it's safe for everybody to listen to.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Karens aren't gonna try to cancel anyone.
No.
I get it.
It'd be pretty hard.
Until they find out he's black.
With a song like God. With a song like God's Plan, even Karens can't argue with like, well, at least he's talking about the Lord.
Unless they call it Allah's Plan or something like that.
Now I want that remix because now I want
now all of the people in this hotel are like, I have to fight the urge to cancel him because of just the suggestion of that being a thing. Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad that the test went well, and I'm glad that things are well on your end. So,
Dougie Fresh,
Doug, what is hot chicken? What's your Chiron? What's going on,
you guys? I am so tired.
Okay.
I am in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow,
for a conference, and it's been great. I've been able to talk to a lot of really cool people. It's been a really great conference. It's just been a long day. It's also, I found that like something that not a lot of people know about is like when you're in student affairs and you go to a conference, people are very much like, don't talk about drinking. And you're like, but the students aren't around. They're like, yeah, but we don't do that.
Student affairs.
But then you go to like a tech conference and they're like, hey, we're about to do the keynote. Would you like a margarita beforehand? And you're like, what the fuck? Why? Like, it's just a keynote. Like, just a keynote. And you're like, I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to say no, right? That'd be weird.
Free margarita.
And so I'm just, it's been a lot. Yeah. There's a couple of cool things that happened. So we had a reception on Sunday night at the Tennessee Titans Stadium in Nashville.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Sorry. Marcus started singing the song and I started singing it.
Brian saw me. Yeah, me and Brian hit we hit a connection right there real quick.
Okay.
It was great because
Brian knew what I was talking about. Yeah.
Love it. And what's really cool is that like, so Beyonce was in Nashville on Saturday night. And they were still cleaning up the conference. They were still cleaning up her concert from the stadium when we had our reception. So we were able to see like the layout and the stage as they were kind of like tearing shit down, which was cool. I didn't obviously get to see the concert, but it's still kind of cool to be there and in to see it because I'm a big fan of like how artists, whether that be folks that are on like stage and like musical theater or even like in like a music scene, like how do they lay shit out? Like,
for sure.
I don't need to see Taylor Swift jump into a stage anymore. I get it. There's something magical going on, but I'm fascinated with folks that incorporate that. So like when Marcus was like a few podcasts ago, he goes like, oh, Drake handed himself a book. I was like, how did they do that? Like, there's a part of me that's like, that's really fascinating to me. I think I want to go to a concert more to see the ambiance than the actual music. Like, does that make sense?
No, I feel like I want to go to the Drake concert because I want to people watch. I would do the same thing at a Taylor Swift concert.
Yes.
I think I would more so like as much as I would vibe at a Drake concert and sing everything word for word. At those concerts, I want to see who the fuck is around because there's so many different audiences. There's like the women who love Drake. Then there's like also the men who love Drake. You know what I mean? Like that, which is also fine. Then there's like the music fans that love Drake. But then you have like, I feel like it's sprinkled with a bunch of random things. And that's what I would want to see.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I want to see people show up for the people they love. Like,
for sure.
Because they are there. And here's the thing. Nothing brings me more joy than seeing other people experience the things that they love to that degree. Like seeing someone who loves Drake or loves Taylor Swift be at a concert. Jeez, I keep saying conference. Being at a concert. That's really, really cool to see them like just turned up to 11. So like I said, I'm tired. My Chiron is hot chicken because Nashville is known for its hot chicken. That is a variety of sandwich.
Did you tomorrow the hot chicken?
tomorrow I am on my own for dinner, and I think I might venture out into Nashville to find myself some hot chicken. So I got recommendations from some campuses that are located here in Nashville.
Nice.
So shout out to the friends at Vanderbilt University giving me some recommendations. So I'm gonna check them out. Wow. But more importantly, I am excited.
Shout out to my boy Tassos Cometeros, who is now at Vanderbilt. He played here at USD, transferred this past year, and he is now playing basketball at Vanderbilt University.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. More importantly, I'm excited to be more saintly in this episode of the podcast. I think I'm gonna try and keep things a little bit more clean this episode. I had to take a hard look in the mirror, y'all, and I'm not necessarily disappointed with what I saw, but I did some things. I gestured some things that maybe not proud of.
I want to read this text to you. It's from my dad. It's from Lamont. I sent him a video randomly, right, at 7:06 p.m. And it was a video of SpongeBob singing some church songs. That's like a whole part of TikTok is like AI SpongeBob singing church songs, right? So I sent him that video. The next message he sends me at 7:23 says, "It's Pinky first with eyes wide emojis." He said, "What the hell y'all doing on that podcast?" and sent 3 skull emojis. So that is from Lamont Sellers himself, by the way.
And you know, when I disappoint Lamont, I have to reevaluate my life.
That's when you know you hit it. For me, when I get on his last nerve, that's how I know I've achieved my mission.
You know you're there.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I'm excited to get into our news. I'm excited to talk about the movies I saw. Like, I'm very excited to talk about the movies
I'm excited for this format. Yeah,
it's kind of cool, like the 3-movie format. But gentlemen, before we do that, we have to play Catch That.
Yeah, we do.
Quotable.
Catch that quotable.
The silky sounds of Marcus J. Gentlemen, are you ready for this week's quote?
Doug, hit me.
Hit me.
Bones of full 50 men lie strewn about its lair. So, brave knights, if you do doubt your courage or your strength, come no further, for death awaits you all with big, nasty, pointy teeth.
I know what this is. I can't.
Do you really?
I can't. Oh fuck!
Gentlemen,
can you read it again, please?
I know it. Like, we can stop this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What? This is Monty Python and the
Holy
Grail.
It's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's the part where they're trying to kill the rabbit with the holy hand grenade.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Great job, Doug.
I don't even need to check it. I'm not even going to look it up. I'm that confident in what this is.
Okay.
I was about to sugarcoat rabbit, whatever it is.
You're about to butterscotch soda.
Butterscotch soda.
Butterscotch soda the rabbit. That's fine.
I'm mad we've made that a thing. That's a bunch of bullshit. And I got that shit right.
Gunpowder milkshake. Butterscotch soda.
I was close. I was close.
Would have some things to say.
I was close, man. That's still crock of bullshit to me, but whatever.
I also really quickly want to shout out Roman Myers, because Roman sent us a video. He sent us a picture of him donating the money from what we do with Catch That Quotable. And this was his comment. This was the last comment he had, which is, "Can't wait for someone from that organization to listen to the pod that donated the money to them. They stumbled upon last week's episode talking about backhanded lefties and MILFs." That, Roman, there's a part of me that's like, well, what would they do? Like, what would they do if they're like, oh no, like.
It's like picking up a $10 bill in a pissy urinal bath, in a pissy bathroom. It's kind of like $20. I'm gonna take it, but it's gonna be like, ugh, what the fuck?
Ooh, and they gotta like ring it out. Yeah, it's the whole.
I mean, I'm still taking it.
Yeah.
It's
it's $10.
I'm not $10. Like, I'm not gonna pass
in this economy. I mean,
is it disgusting? Absolutely. Am I also? Yes.
With inflation, it's basically a 20. Like,
honestly,
yeah.
So,
year over year, yeah.
That's right.
Year over year, yeah.
Year over year, yeah. Yep, year over year. But gentlemen, we have a whole episode to get to, and we are going to break down. So last week during our news segment, we teased something about the SAG-AFTRA strike and said like, hey, this is going to happen by the time this episode releases. We were a little wrong because I think it happened on Thursday, not on Friday, not on Wednesday.
It was midnight at the end of the day, Wednesday. So and then, but then there was like a meeting where they had to authorize it.
They had like a federal arbiter that was there to like try to save it. But so technically Thursday, it all took place.
Yep.
So I want us to break down 1, what happened, and 2, what are the actors that we very much support? What are they asking for? What are their concerns? To try to break down some of the things that are in the orbit of this. I have not had the time to be able to dive into it, but Brian and Marcus, I know that you all have. So I will defer to you to sort of dive into what's going on with the SAG strike.
Listen, these motherfuckers is leaving, right? They not playing. It's a complete blackout, essentially. I'm gonna get Brian is looking up some information behind the scenes, as he is great with the research and providing you context. Me, y'all know how I get down. I'm gonna give it to you off the top of my head how I synced it. So
do it.
Basically, it's a big ass blackout right now. So like writers, actors, anybody interested in joining SAG or being part of SAG or SAG-AFTRA, like essentially no. Like we're not promoting movies. We're not promoting any of the streamers. We're not promoting anything that they are currently in is a no-no. If you are an influencer or anything like that, if you've had things prior that you're obligated to, they are like, yeah, go ahead and finish that shit out. But if you are interested in becoming a member after the strike is over, and you are not supporting, you will not be able to join. Like, for example, Oppenheimer had their premiere. The actors and actresses went to the premiere on the red carpet, and then as soon as the strike started, they all left in the middle of the premiere, because that's how serious this is going. And there's a lot of issues of like studios wanting to use AI footage and use people's footage without them knowing, without their consent, without their permission, use AI background, use AI to do a lot of things amongst not being paid and people's healthcare, not having enough money to pay the bills, and the way that streamers are not handling residuals and things of that nature correctly.
And that's a perfect segue. So one of like the main issues that has come to light is how streamers are doing residuals. And so Kimiko Glenn, who became, I would say, well known from her role on Orange is the New Black, there was a piece in the New Yorker that dove into a lot of it. And then she also posted on TikTok herself, and that's where I'm going to start. And she basically has a residual check. And if you don't know what a residual is, it is basically you made this thing and it's going to keep airing or people keep watching it.
Like
and
every month
like, and here's your cut. Here's your cut of this month of however many people watched it. However, so basically the work you did keeps getting you paid. And she was like, oh yeah, like, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she's like, oh yeah, I got my residual check. I'm rich. And she goes over it. And there's like dozens of Orange is the New Black episodes that are listed. There are dozens there in multiple markets outside the US, like from all these different places. And she gets to the bottom of it and it's barely $27.
Yep.
And it's to me, that is just criminal. I think just to start off there, that's
broadly
criminal.
Speaking,
she speaks more about it in the New Yorker if you want to find out more there. But essentially, they tell a story about how they were at a party when Game of Thrones was like at the top of its game. Orange is the New Black was like on its 5th or 6th season. And basically, one of the Netflix executives were like, well, I don't know why Game of Thrones is getting this hype. Like, we have way more viewership than Game of Thrones. And I guess the actresses from the show at that party were like, wait a minute, the HBO people, though, get paid HBO money for like the millions of viewers they pull in. Why aren't we getting paid that? So like that kind of signaled the rot inside the machine of like how bad stuff was inside the streamers. And so part of that is, I think with this new contract, is getting the residuals worked out where actors can get appropriately paid for their work. Because I think we can all agree that an actress like Kimiko Glenn, who is getting residuals for dozens of episodes, shouldn't total $27. Like that's wild.
Yeah. And just for reference, really quick, The base, I just want to provide. I'm going to be the one that provides like the cost to sign up, like for a particular streamer. The cost to sign up for Netflix is $6.99 a user, so $7. So if 100,000 people sign up just for Orange Is the New Black, that is $700,000 that is in the pocket of Netflix.
That's a great point.
We don't know how you're going to get paid, and it's like, hold on, because again, extrapolate that 100. You all are. I would assume most people. Marcus did enough of this math homework; he could do this.
Fuck,
a million people at $7 a user is $7 million. So $100,000 is being conservative in your estimation to the nth degree. Like it is. We are being far too conservative with how many people signed up in the height of Orange Is the New Black. We're being so conservative.
That was like one of the first Netflix shows I remember that people were like, oh, you got to get Netflix for it. Like it was that show and the Marvel shows, and then I feel like Stranger Things were like that was like the triumvirate.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah,
and like the idea that like you get $27 of like best I can do, $27. Thanks for your work. Like that's messed up. That's not fair compensation.
And I want to bring up a point that Marcus made, because he and I were going back and forth in our chat. We were talking about this before. Is like, I kept saying like, oh man, I can't believe they didn't know. And Marcus, rightfully so, was like, the fuck they didn't know, because you were saying, Marcus, and I think is an outstanding point, not to take words out of your mouth, is no, this was a system designed with an outcome that they were trying to achieve, which was we know that no one wants to track this and keep track of it, because the more it's in the dark, the less we have to be held accountable for it. So I want to just give you a tip of the hat, because that was an outstanding point you made in our chat earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's the skeptic in me. Like it's like it's
truthful.
You can't say it's sad that it is, and obviously I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a measly third heat of a podcast with my two besties, but like I have to believe that these systems know, right? These people that own these CEOs, these big budget, these Bob Igers, these David Zaslavs, like they know that if we don't readjust things, if we don't actually put numbers to the thing that we're creating, we cannot be held accountable, because if I don't know, quote unquote, then you don't know, quote unquote.
Right.
And that just gives us more flexibility to just kind of fuck people over, and we get raised. David Zaslav makes a fuck ton of money. I forgot. There was a list of all of the people that make money. I thought Bob Iger made a lot of money, but David Zaslav is number fucking one in the amount of money he makes.
And the Netflix CEO is number 3.
Yep.
Ari Emanuel, who's an agent, a very famous agent, is number 2. But it goes David Zaslav, Ari Emanuel, and then the Netflix CEO is number 3.
Well,
Brian.
And to like link up with Marcus's point, it's kind of this ignorance is bliss thing, because and Doug, you mentioned like we used to have Nielsen ratings, and that was the standard. And the reason we needed that was for advertisers, for network TV, so people could gauge like how many viewers do you have for me to advertise my broom,
And what's my 60 seconds worth? Like in the height of the show's popularity, what is 60 seconds worth? Like we hear about this a lot during the Super Bowl. It's like more people people are watching the Super Bowl than anywhere else. That's why it's for a 60-second ad spot, it's $1 million, because that's the impact of how many people are viewing.
And so you had a tool and everybody agreed to it. And it that was seen, it maybe wasn't fair, but that was what everybody could see and everybody based their stuff off of. And then with streamers, they don't have to do that, because it's a subscription model. They already have your money. They're not, some of them obviously have an advertiser option, but like that's not their main source of income. It's the subscribers. And so it makes this completely opaque environment that you don't actually get a straight answer, because we had a whole episode where we discussed this, I think, when we talked about Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we were like, really, how well did this do? Like good or bad? We just want to know where people were at with it. And when we dived into those stats, you can feel free to go back and listen to that. It's a very funny conversation because the term terrestrial TVs gets brought up and we're all like, what the hell does that even mean? How the hell can you even use that as a metric? By the way, it's a TV with a built-in app. So you're not even talking about Fire Sticks or Roku's or whatever, which I feel like most people or like PlayStations, you know what I'm saying? So like you can't, they don't even share info that even gets most of their demographic. They cherry pick the stuff, which is why you see when Netflix has a hit, it's some really weird messed up stat of like Bird Box is our most streamed movie from December 24th at 6 p.m. to December 26th Mountain Time during the waxing moon. Like it's just so specific that you're like, wow, that sounds great, but like I have nothing to compare this to. Like, if it's waning moon, totally different stat. Then we have to talk about Glass Onion. But it's just like that. Giving more barriers makes it harder for even actors or the people that work on those projects to understand what their worth is. And the last thing I'll say for this point is like Kimiko Glenn in that New Yorker piece, I think she tweeted about it, was basically like, like you had these stars from Orange is the New Black, but they still had to keep their side hustles as like bartenders and waitresses and whatever. And it's just kind of like that seems weird. That seems out of balance.
And not the big ones, right? Like the big ones might have been fine, but that's not the ones we're talking. Like that's not the ones we're worried about.
Well-known people from this show,
right? You know, and we would hope that they were, saving a little bit or had enough work where it wasn't a big deal,
right?
But if I'm a brand new actor on the scene and I don't know any better, and I'm just trying to make it, or I'm just trying to make it, and it's not enough to get by. And I think that I'm going to hit it off big because a residual check is going to, because that's the dream, right? Like, yeah, the payday for actors is substantial, and as it should be. Not trying to say it shouldn't be. What I'm saying is that for many actors, it's like not only am I going to get a big payday because I booked a Netflix gig, the residual will take care of me. And in this case, it's not. The last thing, Marcus, I know you were saying something, but the last thing I'll say is there's a book that I recently listened to that used the phrase, and this is what I keep coming back to, is systems are designed with an outcome in mind. This is a system that's been designed with an outcome in mind. Like it's not. I have to like hold myself accountable. As I kept saying, well, maybe they didn't know. No, they knew, and they knew.
Oh, they knew,
and they kept saying like, no, this is great for us because we can keep our costs lower and our profit margins as high as possible.
100%.
Marcus.
Yeah, and just to add to it, like when you have that naiveness or that ignorance that they project and say, oh, we don't know how to track it. It allows them the space to also remove projects at their own will, and it does not like
great point.
When a show lives, what kind of baffles me when people started pointing out, or the actors started pointing out, or people that I see tweeting, they were like, I was a writer for such and such show, and it was on a streamer, and it was removed for a tax write-off. But because there's no DVDs, because there's no nothing, because there's no cable on TV, we will we won't know that this existed unless they pull it out of the vault and re-upload it on streamers. We have no way to hold it and say, I was a part of this project as a truth in the future. And the second one is, there are no residuals for the shows that get cut. Like it's just cut and it gets removed.
Artemis Fowl. I mean, as much as we shat all over that, like
who knew
it wasn't great, right? It's we talked about it. Like I think after an episode one time of saying like no one will know that Artemis Fowl was ever released on Disney Plus unless they find the episode of our podcast that talks about it.
Yeah,
and like not to get on my high horse, but I feel like this
pressure.
Like. We talk about all these art forms, and I feel like the people who perform like are incredibly talented, but I feel like as movie critics, as we are on this podcast, that is so important because we help unpack that, but we're also having this oral history of it at the same time. Like if you want to know what the Artemis Fowl movie is, you can go listen to that podcast. I mean, maybe you find a YouTube video, maybe you luck out and find it illegally, which I mean, like, look what you're doing, Disney. Like, you would be driving people to do that. Like and I think that's messed up, but I also feel like it's why movie critics, not influencers necessarily, but like movie critics are important so they can reflect on this material and say like, yes, this happened and it may not be for me, but it did happen and it tried to do this. And I'm not trying to make this about us during the SAG strike, but like this, like it's weird that Artemis Fowl may only live on in reviews.
It's an archive. It's archived now.
Like that's weird.
Now the podcast and movie reviews and movie critics are now the archives to the things that was. And like you unironically, or whether it's real or not, you create more things like Shazam. Like, was Shazam with Sinbad real or not? And in the
whole
future,
urban legend about it.
And there's like, to me, I remember it vividly. Other people say, no, that shit never existed. It was a joke. But funny enough, like in this digital realm and in an oversaturated digital realm of movies and content, there's so much shit that will just be out there that honestly, who are we to remember what the fuck was out and when it was all meshed together and nothing lives forever on a specific place. And the other thing about the actors and actresses and people who write and do all of that, you know, when they get really popular and something pops off out of nowhere, like we've seen it happen, right? Like a project on Netflix, a show, it just hits. And then people find this new actor or actress or lead person that then becomes super popular. They almost have to become reliant on becoming super popular and this false promise of, if you get super popular in this project, that'll book you more projects in the future. And 100%. It's not that is not a reliable source of income to do anything. No. It's a false promise and a false hope that is like, we're not going to pay you for your popularity, but what we're going to do is open you the door to new opportunities based off of this thing that you've been a part of. Thank you. Congratulations.
It's the equivalent of saying to a marketer who does graphic design, I can pay you an exposure.
Oh my God. Yep.
Bullshit.
That's the worst line you can fucking say.
That is not a payment form. Like that's not payment. Yeah. That's a nice to have. Like, oh yeah, you're right. The $500 is what's going to feed me, but you're right. By doing a good job, I might also get some additional business. That still has to be rooted in the dollar value.
And I think what's important to bring up here is like we're not necessarily stumping for like the millionaire celebrities. Like they're gonna be fine. Like your Jennifer Lawrence's, your like all of those, like your Tom Cruises, they're gonna be just fine. That's not who we're talking about. Like we're talking about these people who are getting those commercial deals, or those folks who are just now getting into that streaming series as a recurring character, or like those people who, if they get into SAG and get that healthcare, like that's gonna benefit them for the rest of their life, living off of those residuals and having that access to healthcare. Like,
or even like take it. I mean, to your point, Brian, a colleague of mine here at the conference, shout out to Brad Katz from Chicago.
What a cool name.
Brad was telling me his wife works in advertising.
Yeah,
and sometimes gets people to read ad copy. But that is still a form of acting. So they are a member of the guild, and it changes everything for them. You're talking about people who read your advertisements on like Spotify. If you're not one of us who pay for it, am I right? Am I right, guys?
Brookies.
Yeah.
I need my premium Spotify. I'm not proud of it.
But you know what
I'm an elitist.
Like, even that's my line in the sand. Like, oh, you don't pay for your Spotify? Get away from me, commoner. But like even those folks, like that might this is where it becomes more impactful, is because you realize this, like metaphorically, this drop in this pond has so many more ripple effects that you just don't even realize are there until you stand back and you look at it.
And if you think motherfuckers listening, not the friendly motherfuckers listening, the fans,
the unfriendly motherfuckers,
but the unfriendly ones. If you think it's not going to affect you, or you just feel distant, and not even motherfuckers, that was just a joke. But if you don't think that this is going to immediately affect you as a consumer, give it some time. because there is, the fall things that have already been recorded. Like, remember, when you see a movie trailer, that shit has been months, if not years, in the works. And like, you hear about a new TV show, that shit is months, years in the works, whatever the case may be, right?
That's like halfway through post-production.
Yes. So when you're getting it, they're ramping up to premiere it for you. They already knew the shit was in the works. So anything that has already been done, like that, you're going to be fine for like maybe going into the fall, But once we start creeping into 2024 and things that were supposed to, remember that time when they used to take breaks at the fall season and be like, this is our fall break in the series. We'll see you in the spring for the next half of the thing. All of that shit is going to be affected. So any content that you thought you were going to get, the movies that you thought you were going to get, all that shit like that, be ready.
Just wait. And then, and not only that, there are going to be shows that I think about, like Marvel production shows and movies that capitalize off of hype and keeping the hype moving, that will not be able to rely on hype to get asses in seats or viewers on screens. I mean, because of the strike, there will just have been so much time.
Kevin Feige kind of said some of that shit too in his interview. He was like, I hope that I could kind of tell he was not maybe the happiest. he wasn't as vocal as Bob Iger was, because Bob Iger was saying some
wild ass
super
shit,
elitist type shit.
Let's put a pin in that, because I want us to talk about it.
Bob Iger was saying some super elitist type shit. But you could tell Kevin Feige was trying to support. But he essentially said, I hope that we can get back to the beautiful things that we had in motion and the things that we have already started creating. In other words, we had some shit in the fucking tuck that we needed to get going and start amping up and hyping up right now, i.e. maybe San Diego Comic-Con, Comic-Con for some things that's coming in 2024 that we need to prep for, that we got to put on hold, and I ain't got no choice because I got to support the people that make this shit possible.
Well, and real quick, like for timeline stuff, I do, this is our educated guess, exactly what Marcus said. If I believe that if we get to Labor Day and we're still in this situation where both the writers and the actors are on strike, I think 2024 gets really weird and gnarly, like 2020 box office weird and gnarly. Like, I think you'll see, if we get to Labor Day, and I'm happy to do like where are we at with what you said, Brian, around our Labor Day podcast, but like, I think you'll see some of those heavy hitter movies being pushed to 2024 because they will literally have nothing. So like the Marvels might move, because also nobody in the Marvels will be able to do press, most likely. If the strike is going on that long, and you're going to want all of those heavy hitters to be there. So I think all that stuff gets pushed. So I think it's completely possible even holiday season movies are going to be impacted, and we might need to do a podcast of like, hey, there's no new stuff, here's some good stuff that
you saw what happened with The Flash when you don't do your own movie promo and your own movie run, right? And you saw what happens when we know how hard Marvel goes with the promotions, because we see the actors everywhere once they start promoting the movie. That shit's gonna hit. And if you are a fan, the one that's been like, oh, it's too much Marvel, it's too much. Don't worry, you're gonna get your break. Don't you worry.
Yeah, you can't Sasha Calais your way out of this one, because she was fighting for her life in some of those interviews. They're like, what was it like working with Ezra Miller? And she goes like, my stunt team was amazing. I can't remember what interview it was. And I was like, Sasha, you are in the fire and just batting embers away like it's tennis. Like that's rough.
Yeah. Let's talk about Bob Iger for a second, because there are several CEOs that are coming out and talking about and running their mouth, not educatedly, but just running their mouth. I mean, and maybe not talking to their PR team before they start talking shit.
I wish I had my soundboard so I could cue up some like DMX barking noises.
Right.
Because I feel like deserves them. Yeah.
I have a quote from Variety from an article. And I have a quote from Bob Iger. Quote, I understand any labor organization's desire to work on behalf of its members to get the most compensation and be compensated fairly based on the value they deliver. We managed as an industry to negotiate a very good deal with the Directors Guild that reflects the value that directors contribute to the business. We wanted to do the same with the writers, and we'd like to do the same thing with actors. There's just a level of paraphrasing a little bit, there's a level of expectation that they have that's just not realistic. And they are adding to the set of challenges that this business is already facing that is, quite frankly, very disruptive, end quote.
Very disruptive. What do you think a fucking strike is, Bob Iger? It's meant to be disruptive, you asshat.
Like, what expectations, Bob, do you think are unreasonable for these people who just like want an apartment to live in and get food? I just... like you don't even know what that's like because you make $27 million a year. So
I saw the picture of your yacht, and you better hope them fucking orca whales don't come and fucking tear that shit up. Because I saw a picture of your yacht, Bob Iger. I saw it.
I don't know. I also don't know, Bob, how you get to this point when you've been trying to amp up Disney Plus and you keep losing subscribers. It seems like maybe. By the way, this is a point here that I want to bring up. Over the past quarter, Disney Plus has lost 4 million subscribers, which is not good for any business people out there. I'm gonna pull I want to get the exact numbers here because I feel like this is really important. But anyway, they lost 4 million subscribers last quarter, according to Bloomberg, in a piece that came out today. And they've lost 800 million in the third quarter for both of the streaming services. So, Bob, I think you have a bigger problem than paying your talent and your writers. It seems like maybe you shouldn't have goosed Disney Plus subscribers for offering Disney Plus for like literally $3 a month. At one point.
Yeah. Well, shout out to you for doing it at that time, but also...
Well, and here's the other thing, and I think this is important I think this is...
Oh, Doug, I think we lost your mic.
I think your mic went out.
Did you?
Oh, we got you now.
Oh, now you back.
Okay, good. Here's the thing. I think it's important that we give blame where blame is due. Remember, a lot of this lives with the company, but the captain of the ship,
Bob Chapek.
changes. Yes, because Chapek was the one who was like really the problem with the streaming portion of it. And Iger came in recently. Now, it's still a company decision, but it's important to make the distinction of like he wasn't the one to sink it. However, he is the one currently tasked with maintaining the decision.
Yeah.
So
you know what I say? When you live in the ivory tower, every rock that I throw is for everybody in that motherfucker, right?
Whether they were in it or not. Yep.
Whether you were in it or not. And if you're gonna open your mouth and say things like this, Bob, like seriously, like I would like to tear into your ass a little bit, but you can't. This is meant to be disruptive. Things get done when people get disruptive. When the system is interrupted. If it was nice and dandy and everybody just agreed, just because you think it's a good deal, as creatives, as a creative, it is hard to put a price on the value of the things that we create, whether it's this podcast or it's the music I make or it's the things that I write or it's the intellectual properties that I bring to the university or bring to whatever it is that we're doing. You can't place a value on that.
No.
And if you can't place a value on that, in my mind, you can't place your value on what you think that I'm owed, what you think is a good deal. Like, that's not how that works.
And Abigail Disney clapped back at him, the daughter of Roy E. Disney. And here's the tweet back that she said. She said, "You can only call your workers and partners unrealistic if you cannot see beyond the confines of your very narrow and morally bankrupt business ideology that has set your company on this long track towards exploitation and injustice."
She's always a firebrand. I love her.
She's fucking great.
I love it.
And you know what I like about her is she's like, I love what we created here. And it's for everybody, but fuck these people who are trying to turn it into something else.
I mean, and I feel like there's such a this is like the last big example I'll share. So on the Keep It podcast a few months ago, I'll try to track down, but Ginger Gonzaga, who plays one of the main supporting female lead in She-Hulk. She's like the paralegal to Jennifer Walters. And Doug and Marcus have heard me say this once before, but basically she brought up that the streaming stuff was super broken in her interview with Keep It, and basically saying like, I got a one-time fee to be on this show, but it is an international Marvel show that was the most watched show on the network, and I get no residuals. I don't get, and it's in multiple markets. I don't see a dime from any of that popularity, and that to me, I feel like sums up most of this in comparison to Bob Iger. Like Bob Iger's like, hey, this seems like unrealistic. Meanwhile, Ginger Gonzaga like is in the most popular show and she's not getting paid.
Well, there's got to be something.
I don't know what to tell you.
And not just like she's hanging out having a coffee, Brian. Like she is pivotal to the advancement of the story.
Yes.
And not to mention is one of the more funny. Her purpose in the show, and I'm not trying to be reductive. I'm trying to say this to be her credit. She is there to keep the show for what they wanted it to be, which was a TV show, a Marvel show with a little bit of comedy and humor. She was there to help them accomplish an objective with the show. It is not like, oh, she was the one who every time Jen came into the law firm and she said good morning for 7 fucking episodes. She was there to do something vital to what they wanted to accomplish with it. So she was man. It's criminal at best. Like at best, that is just an enticably shitty thing to do.
Well, all that money you fucking spent. Now I don't know the maths. I might be doing maths, but I don't know the maths directly, right?
Let's find out.
All the money that is spent on
here's the real test
of the fucking TV show.
Oh my gosh.
On all of the fucking TV shows that you made, right? Oh, let's just look at Disney Plus and all the Marvel shows. All of the Marvel TV shows that was put out that we had to keep the fuck up with the entire time. All of the money you spent to make those shows, how much of that could have been spent to pay the people and you create less when you put quality over quantity? Even though I know it's a Bob Chapek thing, but like we said, it's a business and a system thing. How much of that money that you could have spent, that you spent on the TV show, could have been spent paying the people their rightful due diligence, their rightful pay?
You CGI'd a fucking handgun. Like
that's weird.
You CGI'd
and a wallpaper.
In an apartment.
An apartment and a gun. And I am not like a Second Amendment dude. You could have gotten you could have there's so many of them. Like you could have been like, can I have yours and use it for our show? He CGI'd a fucking hand.
Brian is pulled up.
I pulled up the image.
$200 million on Secret War. And yeah, I get it. A majority of them are fucking aliens and you need them to be green and there's work to be done. But people, please, you can't like, I'm kind of getting to the point where I feel like an exasperated dad where I'm just like, you did what? Like, it's just like, how could you do something stupid?
The teapot in the back too. Like they CGI'd the nightstand and the teapot.
So
for those money to pay our actors,
like for those that are on the podcast format, I just want to point out. So we have a tweet here from Xavier's Online from Twitter, and they have a VFX shot. And the first is a green screen with Sam Jackson, and he looks like he has some type of pistol grip. It's not a full gun. I want to put this out there. He's sitting in a chair holding this weird light up. It looks like a laser tag thing. And then in the actual like movie, like there's a CG background, and then the gun was also CG. And if this is the level of production that's going into every single Marvel thing, I can see why Secret Wars costs $200 million to make.
Why it feels like shit is falling off, because if everything is fucking CGI'd, then where's the cinema? Like, I know you do that shit to crank out more projects. It's easier for you to CGI it than you to go get a fucking prop, right? And you fucking sweatshop your CGI workers and editors and shit behind the scenes, Disney, which has been another thing that comes up, right? And so you don't really pay them. You rush the fucking CGI people. So where's the fucking money going? That's what I'm saying. Where's the money going?
It's going to green screen an apartment.
Well,
and a teapot in the back.
And a teapot.
Green screen.
I joked about this before that I joked. I joked. But seriously, like I can go to Marshall's and buy you a $5 fucking teapot for like, give me $20. I'll buy you 4 of them in case one of them breaks. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what in what world would you be like, hey, I can afford to CGI a teapot and a background, but you know what I can't afford? To make sure you get fairly compensated for your streaming numbers. Like it just at some point, it's comical. Like it's just hilarious to the point it feels like a bad joke of like, we can afford to spend $200 million on CGI, but if you'd like to be paid for every episode that we stream, we can't measure it, so get fucked. Like it just seems so backwards that it's a joke.
So I kind of want to go down. I want to go over some of the rules that they have for SAG-AFTRA before we go into the movies, the movie review. And so this is from Variety, and this Variety article says how the rules apply to influencers, journalists, cosplayers, and more. And so there is a great deal of discussion about who can do what. So I'm just going to give us a light, little skinny. They ask a question, I'm gonna give you the quick response. So I'm a film critic. Can I review movies? Absolutely. Critics are not on strike and are not obligated to stop reviewing movies or TV shows. Glad we said that because I spent 13 minutes on the show pushing back about should we be doing this podcast. But I'm an entertainment journalist. Can I cover movies and TVs? Yes. Entertainment journalists, whether they belong to a union or not, are not on strike, even though those broadcast journalists are represented by SAG-AFTRA. I'm an entertainment journalist. Will any actor talk to me about their project? Probably not. That would be promoting struck work. What if the actor wants to talk about their project and sets up an interview through their personal publicist and not through the studio? That still is not okay. Should I boycott Netflix? Neither the WGA or the SAG-AFTRA has called for a boycott of Netflix or any other platform. Can SAG-AFTRA members do reality shows or game shows? Yes, the union has helpfully put out a document listing all the things that SAG-AFTRA performers can still do, including appearing on reality shows, game shows, and they can do commercials, video game work, talk shows.
We're going to get so many game shows.
This is what was so many. Because here's what I thought was interesting. Can I do cosplay? If you're not in SAG-AFTRA, go right ahead. Subject to the exception for future union influencers above. If you are in SAG-AFTRA, look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I promoting struck work? Then no.
So we're not going to see Ryan Reynolds just walking around in his Deadpool suit. Got it. All right.
Nope. Because that would take.
But if I want to play Deadpool, go nuts.
They don't give a damn about it.
You can.
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, Marcus, because I saw some stuff on social media and it was like, cancel your Netflix, cancel, and I was like, it's not what they're saying. They're not saying
media literacy, Brian, stuff. Right? Like it's like we can't. However, I will say, I do feel like the end to this is the times they have changed a little bit. I feel like
in what respect?
Here's what I mean. I feel like more of the public, like if we had to do a survey of public opinion,
right,
would say COVID changed a lot of things. And I think one of the things that COVID changed was public perception of work and its value and what it drives.
Yep.
And so I do feel like that if there were a call to boycott Netflix, cancel your account, to cancel your Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I do feel like for those who could be in a position where they weren't, it would be hard for me to do that because I have kids. Like that would be hard. That would be hard for me to do. But I could see people doing it. And because remember, the way you win this and the reason why a strike happens is because you're saying, look, I am willing to experience pain myself and to not get a paycheck myself to make you hurt the way in which it makes sense for you. Because the only way you make money is if I show up. And if I stop showing up, you can't make your bottom line.
Yeah.
And so it's standing up for themselves and saying, we believe so much that you shouldn't be paid because you're not paying us, that we're willing to experience discomfort ourselves because of the principle. And I stand wholeheartedly as an individual and as a podcast, I stand wholeheartedly behind that. And I think that there would be people, given the life and the parlance of of our times, as they say, I believe there are people who would be like, sure, okay.
Oh yeah. I think that it's totally possible. I don't think we're there yet. And I feel like I do feel like this is a good point to transition that we at the podcast, we support those striking. We've talked about how to support writers. There's a writers community fund. I reached out to somebody. I'm Facebook friends with somebody who is a personal assistant or a PA on like some of those larger projects. And I asked like, hey, like what is the best way to support folks right now that are being affected? And so we'll of course link this, but the entertainment community fund is a great way to donate if you're looking for a way to help people, not necessarily again the Jennifer Lawrences and the Tom Cruises and the whoever, but if you're looking to help people affected by the strike who are actively picketing and doing all those things, the entertainment community fund is going to be a great place to donate as we talk about all this stuff, and we'll link that on the podcast description too.
Yep.
And we'll be making our donations from Cash Day Quotable to I don't know if we made a decision about that. Did we ever agree on that?
We haven't figured it out, but
said that on a public podcast.
Definitely what we've talked about.
We will talk about it more. Let's put a pin in that.
Let's say this. We are
government.
committed to helping in some way. So
Yes.
don't be surprised if you are a viewer or a listener of this podcast, or you're a member of the Patty family who's watching right now. Don't be surprised if we use funds from the Patreon to help contribute to a cause that we believe is vitally important to the industry and vitally important to the thing that we care about, which is movies.
Yeah.
So don't
We can't do this without that. I mean, we could.
We could. It'd be a challenge, but we could.
It would be films in black and white. It'd be everything in black and white. But
it would. It'd be a lot of old movies that were in black and white. We have to watch.
Call us nutty. The things we want to see. We just want to know all the people were fairly compensated and can go home and buy groceries. Call us nutty, but that's what we would like to see as 100%. We review these movies.
That's what Sheldon said. Y'all are being a great distraction for me tonight as I bang my head against a wall on a project.
Oh, shucks.
That's what we're here
for.
We
love you, and you got this, man.
A good distraction is sometimes exactly what you need.
Exactly
I'm glad you tuned in for us to talk about this for like 45 minutes. This is longer.
And I'm glad you weren't here last week or the week before that because it was.
Well, I mean, we're at an hour and 6 minutes. That 90-minute monster is starting to be it's starting to lick his chops.
It's not assembled, but
guess what? It's like Michael Jackson when he does a turnaround in a Thriller video, and he's like,
he's ready. Gentlemen, we each.
That was great. You know one of my favorite things about this podcast? When there's a song or something that's going on, like when Brian was singing I'm sorry, Miss Pratt, and Brian in the background goes, and he just slides it in there real quick. It's my favorite part.
Gentlemen, we did watch some movies that we would like to talk about from a review space. And the unique format this week is that we each brought our own movie, and it's great. But so each of you saw something. We all saw something different, and we're going to talk about them. I want to kick it on over to Brian. Brian,
hello.
What did you watch this week? And tell us a little bit about it.
Hi, everybody. I watched Nimona for my movie review of this week. I'm assuming we're not going into spoiler territory. This is new to us, but I'm just going to give you the broad strokes here.
Spoil that shit up.
Spoil it if you want to. I don't give a shit.
Essentially, it's a Netflix streaming movie, and it is essentially based on a graphic novel. And it is an animated feature, and I'm trying to find the best word to describe the style. It's not anime, but it is definitely anime inspired. And I'm bringing up the cast here so I can properly credit everybody. But the leads are so Nimona is played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who you may know from Kick-Ass or the Tom and Jerry movie, which we reviewed on this podcast. And then Riz Ahmed also plays the other lead. You have some other great folks in this. You got Eugene Lee Yang from the Try Guys. You got Beck Bennett from SNL. RuPaul is in this. There's a lot of great talent in here. And essentially, it is a like reverse knight versus dragon story. And it is great for kids. But if you like this podcast, you will like this movie because it takes every trope and stereotype of like the brave knight slays the monster and everybody wins in like a fantasy context. It takes all of that and it flips it upside down. And the premise is that Ballister Boldheart is about to be knighted, and the queen dies because of him. His sword has a giant laser beam in it, and he finds refuge in Chloe Grace Moretz. Nimona finds him, and she's a shapeshifter, and they find friendship in each other. And you are not supposed to make friends with monsters, who is exactly what Nimona is. And it deconstructs like, well, what is a monster, and why are we taught to fear monsters, and why is it that whenever we come up against something that looks like a monster, we just want to drive a sword through it? And I feel like this movie does a really, really great job of showing like, yes, like, you know, we have these dragon monster movies, but like, what if those monsters weren't really monsters? They were just different beings and we could get along with them. And cool playing concept. Off of like, you know, kind of oppression is the mask that fear wears type ideology. And like, hey, just because we're scared of it or we don't know what it is, doesn't mean it's bad. I think it has a really good message. It sets up a really good sequel. And I mean, again, I love the entire cast here. It's amazing. And again, if you like this podcast, it takes that classic fantasy trope, completely turns it on its head. And it's PG too, so you can watch it with kids if that's something that you need. And it's really bright and colorful, which I feel like is missing from some movies these days. So it's on Netflix. I really enjoyed my time with it.
Brian, that was a fantastic review, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. That was really good. Yeah, good. Brian, and you do this thing where you go fucking deep with stuff, and you're like, fear is the mask that oppression wears. I was like, God damn, Brian, like that's a whole other level.
I did borrow some Star Wars terminology there. That is from Andor, but that is the vibe that this movie gives. Of course it is. I look, I'm going to give credit where credit is due.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
Exactly.
I love
we
it.
should pay our writers because the writers be coming up with some fire.
Writers make amazing things like that.
Right.
That was great. Cool. And that's on Netflix, you said?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix right now.
That was a great cast. I didn't realize that was Riz Ahmed in that movie.
That might be my plan
second time he's came up in this podcast.
Yeah,
in the past week.
You're right.
Past week.
We'll review Rogue One, make it a 3-week thing. Yeah, it'll be great.
There we go. Marcus, what did you watch this week, sir?
I watched Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I had to go see my boy Thomas Cruise, the Scientologist. That's not why he's my boy. I probably shouldn't have said that.
That's it. That's the reason why. Because Marcus is a big Scientology guy.
I went to go see Dead Reckoning. So what I did was treated myself to some ice cream and a movie. Nice. I went to the movie by myself. Took myself on a nice little date, nice black ass date. So I went to go see Dead Reckoning. This is Mission Impossible 7.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
And I think this is 7, and it's a part 1. So essentially what happens is you get my boy Thomas Cruise. He is back again for another Mission Impossible to make the mission possible. It revolves around, there's this secret weapon. It is this updated version of a villain. It's really, they call it, the Entity. And it's really just an AI villain, essentially.
Oh, and very fitting.
And it has kind of this partnered male protector called Gabriel, who is also the person who killed Tom Cruise. This spoilers, so yeah, but killed Tom Cruise's love interest or partner like earlier before he became like who he was. And so Gabriel is now the thing protecting what they call the Entity, and the Entity can predict every situation that comes. It was like a battle thing that was used in wars, and like Russia had
That's amazing.
And now they got to chase down this fucking keys to kind of fight. Like the keys give access to the box to shut down the AI, but the AI knows that people are looking for the keys, so it's protecting Gabriel the entire time. It sends them on this journey of like the only thing that essentially the AI is afraid of is Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise is the only thing. Tom Cruise is the only. Everybody else is
such
like
a great concept.
It's that's how it goes.
Everybody
else is like the other countries are fighting over the key to have control over it. The entity wants to basically doesn't want to be controlled. It is now a sentient entity now.
Right.
Tom Cruise is the only one saying nobody deserves the key. I'm gonna go shut this shit down myself, and that's what makes the AI kind of like. Oh fuck! No. Well, I got to push back against you. So it follows this whole journey. It's the same team that we know and love. And it's if you love Mission Impossible movies, like I love Mission Impossible movies,
right?
I think it'll fill that bucket and fill that cup for you.
That's fantastic.
I mean,
I love that the AI.
It's
the only
2 hours 47 minutes. I think of just like
shut up.
I think is it 2:47?
Is it?
It's 2 something.
Oh my god!
It's
How
long.
is this movie? How?
It's long.
Like,
it's long.
Did you feel like it was 2 hours and 43 minutes?
I'm gonna be honest with you. When I got to the last 15 minutes, I said, "Ooh, this is kind of like heavy." You know what I mean? Like it's a lot to take on, and it's a slow build too. So, to keep that in mind if you go see it. 2 hours 47 minutes.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
That's unreal to me.
It was long, Brian. I stayed through the credits too, thinking, Mission Impossible movies don't really do a end credit scene, but I just stayed all the way to the end, just make sure there's nothing there.
With the second movie, I could totally see a situation where they would do a teaser trailer for the second whatever, Mission Impossible 8,
whatever it is.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Like it's like Fast 10 Part 2.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. This motherfucker jumped off a cliff. Let me tell you.
I'm not. It's not me making the comparison. It's like it's more like the sequel.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I do want to bring up something really quick. Marcus and I talked about in the chat about how it sometimes feels wrong to hype a Tom Cruise movie, which is why I chuckled when he was like, "If I Scientologist guy," because I knew that's what you were referencing of he has problematic personal views, but this is a good movie. But I hate it. Weird being I enjoy it.
Yeah,
every Tom Cruise movie, I feel this way about.
It's when Maverick came out, when Top Gun Maverick came out, and I was like, man, that was the best movie I saw that year.
Right.
And then this happens, and then I've rewatched all the Mission Impossibles within the last month, and so
that's a commitment.
It's fun. Once you start, it's kind of how much crazier can he get? And he always managed, and knowing that about 94% of the stunts and the shit that he does in that movie is him, it's kind of crazy to fucking think about. That's real movie making type shit. That's the exact opposite of CGI in a fucking teapot.
What
a great callback.
I still think it's hilarious of this concept of he's the stunts are just not doing it. He's just trying. He's just deeply this is not me making fun of folks who have mental health, things that they need to talk about. But what if he's just trying to kill himself? He's I'll jump off a cliff. Maybe it won't work.
People have talked about this of just kind of Tom Cruise is just trying to hit this adrenaline rush that at some point he's going to kill himself in service of trying to entertain us. And we can keep being Tom,
and you know what?
We're good. You don't need to do this. And he's going to be it's okay. I can hit the stratosphere. It's just
the problem.
Can stop at any time.
You know what the problem is, Brian? He's I'm going to get in a car and I drive 60 miles an hour at a brick wall. And they're and the problem is that his stunt team is oh, okay, yeah, you'll be fine with that. That'll be great. And it's don't he's that's the problem is that his whole stunt team is yeah, we just trust him to know what he's supposed to do and not do. And it's he's gonna die if he does that. Don't let him do that.
Tom, if you're listening to the podcast, I know you got time on your hands.
You do got time
now.
You don't need to kill yourself just to entertain us. I want to make this clear. It's you can put a stunt guy in there, and
this is a great.
I'm good.
And the way that he be running from shit in this movie is. You think he's running from some demons. The way he be full-fledged running, full fucking speed in this movie.
Yeah.
On top of the airport in Dubai, on top of beside of buildings and shit. He be doing that shit. How many people do you think, and during this SAG-AFTRA thing. Like everybody was like, okay, y'all, we got to go home. You can't record any movies. You can't do anything. We're disappointed to go home because now they got to go face like whatever the fuck they've been doing at home. It's like, oh, fuck,
I can't do stunts for 8 hours on set.
I'm thinking of people that are like, I got a whole significant other at home I've been avoiding because I said I'm on the road with movies, and then now they know I can't go do movies.
He's testing jumping into the blades of a helicopter, and he's like, I have to go home. And I'm like, thank God. Some poor PA is gonna come check his work and be like, don't let him do this when he comes back. Like he's gonna die.
That man has a fleet of planes, and I'm sure at some point he's just gonna call up Harrison Ford and be like, hey man, let's just try to fly in formation, and I'm gonna jump from my plane to your plane, and Harrison Ford's gonna be like, you got better things to do, kid. Like I feel
get the
like
fuck off my plane. It's like,
I'm not doing that.
Or he's gonna be so desperate for money, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And that's how Harrison Ford also dies. Like there's going to be a soul. There's
Harrison
going to be...
Ford is fine.
Doug, please talk about your movie before.
Yes, guys,
the monster is attaching.
Guys, the monster is
You know what I think it is, Brian? Brian, I think it's one monster, and I just think I think there's what? So talk about your movie.
Don't do that. You've been the monster before. Don't make me go back into every single episode, every audio clip of the time that Marcus talks about MILFs or ass or eating ass or just whatever.
You asked my ex, I was the monster for sure.
There it is. Shows up. 11942. Here we are, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't me. Believe it or not.
Don't do that. Don't do it. You started. You killed
monster.
Harrison Ford. I just followed up. I
was the one that started doing the Harrison Ford skit. I'll take credit for that. That was not
the accountability between the three of us. Yeah.
This is going to be the Spider-Man meme where we all pointed at each other and it was like, no, it was your fault. No, it was your fault. I saw 2 movies. There were 2 that I want to talk about.
Okay, extra credit.
Well, okay. It is what it is.
Nerd!
You like movies? Nerd.
I have to make up for the fact that the last 20 minutes of last week's episode is unusable.
No,
for any format. Here's what I watched. So before I went on my trip, I took Harrison and Harper to see Elemental in the theater. And so for those that don't know, this is the Disney Pixar movie that's about elements living in a city, and 2 elements, Ember and Wade Ripple, a fire elemental and a water elemental, fall in love, and they can't touch. And so there's the whole like, what does that look like for them? And so this movie was outstanding. Like this movie was very good. Like I really, really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. There were moments where it pulled at my heartstrings, and I was like, oh, like that's like I found myself really genuinely caring about the relationship.
What was the message?
Ember.
What was like the adult message that was hidden underneath? I know they had one.
The adult message is probably the reason why it was review bombed and people said they hated it for like the first 2 weekends. Because here's the concept. Fire elementals left their homeland because it quote unquote wasn't safe. So they immigrated to the place where all the water, air, and land elementals live. All the water, air, and land elementals live, and they are always the like. If I could summarize it was very much the like everybody was shaking their fist at the fire elementals being like, why won't you conform to the way we do things in Elemental City? And it's like, and so there was a lot of that. And then you add on to the top of the fact that a water elemental that is considered one of like the mainstream original founders of Element City falls in love with a immigrated fire elemental.
Got it.
Out of those 2 cultures overlapped. Like, let's put it this way. I was sitting in this theater. So I'm sitting in the 3rd seat, Harrison, Harper sitting this way. And I am sitting next to a black family on the other side of me. And there is a scene in the movie where one of the water elementals says to the fire elemental, you sound so Like, you sound so clear when you talk. I'm so surprised that you I did something to the effect of like, I'm so surprised you sound so educated when you talk. And me and the like mom that was sitting next to me, we were both like, God damn. Like we like simultaneously were like, that's terrible.
Jesus.
And so
okay.
That's the adult message. The kid message is, how are they going to solve this problem so Ember can save her family's business? The adult message is cultures clashing is messy, but if they love each other, love finds it. Like that's the adult message.
For those of you that don't know, that are listening on, why is that such a bad thing that they said that? It is never good to tell somebody that you talk white, or you sound, I didn't know you speak very well for like where you come from.
That's what you speak very well for a fire elemental. Like it was something like to that extent.
That is actually an insulting thing that you can tell people. Just an educational moment, and you should never tell anybody that. That is like,
please don't say that.
Thing. So
cut that out of your life. So
what a moment! What a moment to have in the theater.
Okay, and it was just so good. Like it was this moment of like, and then when they finally are able to connect, like the payoff on the other side is just again, I found myself oddly entranced. In this, and I think what they did really well is the music is so good. Like the music is really good in this because it's a blend of like Middle Eastern inspired harmonies and tunes, but then even there are some moments where there are some modern lyrics on top of it, and then there are times where like not modern lyrics on top of it, and it's not English lyrics on top of it. There's some like I don't know if it's Farsi or Arabic but there's just some really great. It's just top to bottom. I really enjoyed it. But looking back on it, and we were also like, why is it doing so bad at the theater? I mean, I can tell you why. Because of all of that. Also, they don't gender the characters.
Fascinating.
Yeah, because they're elements. Why would I gender an element?
Wade Ripple is a water elemental. He's not a girl or a boy because it's water. It's not gendered. So like I also think there's probably some components of that in there as well that people are mad about.
And for context, like it is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and has a 92% audience score. Like,
and has picked up at the box office. It's picked up at the box office where it's now starting to approach Encanto level money. Like it's getting close.
Really?
It's getting close to Encanto level money at the box office. Again, not that we need
to promote it.
Disney Pixar.
Bob Iger is itching his nuts right now.
Right. Not to make it about it, but in terms of like that is the only metric that we have for measuring a movie's success is box office. So that is where it's at.
Wow. Yeah, worldwide it's made 313 million.
Yeah, it's close.
Meanwhile, The Flash has speeded it ass to the digital. It is now available on digital right now.
Is it really?
Yep, it is. Yep, it sure is today. It's sped its ass there.
The other movie I want to talk about is I want to talk about the movie Blackberry. So
I don't know.
Blackberry was a under the radar movie that probably was out in theaters for maybe 2 weeks. It might have even been a direct to video. It might have been like a direct to streaming, but I rented it from Apple TV Plus. I'm pretty sure it's also on Prime and Hulu, maybe. But it is a story of how BlackBerry, the phone company, came into existence. And so it's like, how did they get started? How did they get founded? It's kind of a wild story. And it basically takes them from the early 90s when they got started, because they were competitors with Palm Pilot. Like back when they started. That's how old they are. And actually, at one point in time, Palm Pilot tried to buy them out. They tried to hostile take over BlackBerry because they saw them as competitors. Yeah. And so like BlackBerry has existed all this time and then was eventually killed by the iPhone revolution. But like it follows like how did they get started and sort of the quirky nature of their co-CEOs that kind of existed in the space. So really, really good. I wanted to watch it because it sounds stupid, but I wanted to watch it because it stars Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Glenn plays one of the CEOs, and he's one of the main leads in it, and he's incredible. Like it's just really it's very similar. It's kind of in the same style as like Air, Flamin' Hot, BlackBerry, are sort of all of these, like, what were these staples back that we maybe grew up with or were a part of our identity at one point in time. And so it's just interesting. I mean, and I don't know if it's like source material or if it's based off of a book, but or interviews or what have you, but like even some of like the conversations of like listening to, it stars Jay Baruchel is the other co-CEO for like, he's a Canadian actor. He's been in things like
oh my gosh. Yes.
But he plays Glenn Howerton plays the like financial side of the CEO.
Yeah.
Jay plays the like technical side. And man, it's so interesting to see their roles like flip. And then like even what like Jay's philosophy, like there's one moment where like Apple announced the iPhone and they were saying like, you know, and I don't know if this is real or not, but the movie kind of talked about it. So I assume it's based in something, but they were saying like BlackBerry like wrote off the iPhone as a competitor. They're like, you don't have a keyboard. People need a keyboard. Fuck out of here. Like they're going to be laughed out of. No one's going to want to buy it because they don't have a keyboard. And so his like that whole point, and then even that like patented BlackBerry click, he's like, people want the click. They want to be able to hear and know that they're typing.
I remember those commercials. They got Jim Halpert to talk about the BlackBerry Storm and how it clicks and everything like that.
And the BlackBerry Storm was dog shit because that was the first product that they shipped to China to make because they were trying to compete with iPhone.
Wow.
Everything up until that point was not produced in China, which is why it was probably a better product.
And for people that are like, why would I know Jay Baruchel? Like, why are people like, why would he be recognizable? He's the lead in How to Train Your Dragon. He's also the lead in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. You may know him from a bunch of other teen
Judd
comedies.
Judd
Apatow movies. Like he's that's
the 40-year-old virgin. The 40-year-old virgin, when they're in the hospital at the end, the guy who says like, "Do you think I should go in there to check on her?" And he goes in there, and she's like, "Get out." That's Jay Baruchel that she yells out to get out. But man, it was really, really good. Like it was a really, really good watch. I like this. I'm finding more and more that I like this style of movie where it's like, I'm actually probably gonna watch Flaming Hot, like maybe on the plane back, because I kind of like this like. How did it come to be, like that type of thing?
Yeah,
like I'm finding that I enjoy that. Huh?
Did they go to the theater?
No, Flamin' Hot went direct to Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, okay.
And BlackBerry too went directly to Apple, right?
I'm pretty sure it went directly to Apple first. But
and I've been wanting to watch that Tetris movie too.
That looks good. They have another one that's coming out in end of August called The Beanie Baby Revolution, and it's not a documentary. It's about the founder of TY, and I can't remember who's in it, but it's wild. Like it's
a GameStop movie too. Like it's like something like
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, there is, because somebody's playing Ninja, and I saw the screen grab of it, or like whoever was released, and I was like, oh yeah. We're really doing this.
So the Beanie Bubble is about the Beanie Baby. It's about the like how Beanie Baby came to be. This is the cast of the Beanie Bubble. The Beanie Bubble is Zach Galifianakis plays Ty, like TY, the founder. Elizabeth Banks, Sarah Snook,
from Succession.
They have all sorts of folks that are in this that are a big deal, and so like it's gonna be. Ron Howard produced it. Like it's gonna be really good.
Oh, this is coming out next week in select theaters. Wow.
Yeah. And then it'll be on Apple TV Plus. But it's I'm finding that I like this style of movie more and more of like weird, how did it get here, or where did they be, or like that type of thing. So they were both good.
I know I can't promote a new movie. Great review, Doug. I think on two of those movies, Going the Extra Mile. That sounds really interesting. I don't want to promote a new movie, but it was a trailer that I saw at the beginning of Mission Impossible that I just wanted to highlight for people to watch on their own. I'm not promoting a movie, but it looked very interesting. A movie with Leonardo DiCaprio is called Killers of the
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I didn't hear anything about that. That was my first time watching a trailer, and I thought that looked very interesting, especially as an Apple TV movie. And Leonardo DiCaprio looks crazy.
And Martin Scorsese, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. That's good. That's like the next big caliber cinema movie. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're gearing up for. I don't know how else to like cinema. Like you gotta be guttural with it. Well, and with the strike, like people are like, how are they even going to promote it? Because like you have none of the talent that can be at any of these fall festivals, and they obviously, I what it feels like is this is the Oscar movie Apple wants to put up, so it's like I don't know what
the
they're
Oscars are going to look weird. The Oscars are going to look real weird,
right? Like I doubt people. Oh my gosh, we'll talk more about it, but I'm sure some people are going to move around their movies if they don't think they're going to get the talent there to promote it.
Yeah, so it's gonna be nuts.
Great job on the review, Doug. I thought that was great.
Good.
Cheers to you all. That was you. You both did a great job. So thank you both for your reviews.
Well, and to our viewers who are always like, I can't listen to your episode right now because like I want to see the movie. I don't need a deep dive. This is for you. You got 4 movies that you can choose from here. You got spoilers, kind of. For Mission Impossible. I think I spoiled. I spoiled the fuck. Not real. I mean, I don't really feel like those were spoilers. I mean, but
not really.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Tom Cruise walking into a writer's room and it's like, "What if the AI was afraid of me?" It's like, "Oh, all right, that checks out."
Sure. That's definitely. It feels like a you know, like when parents are like, "Oh man, they're telling their kids like, "Oh man, I'm scared of bees." Well, it's probably more scared of you are than you are of it. It feels like that's what Tom Cruise tells himself about AI. Like AI is probably scared of me.
Also, to these were the 2 critiques because I can't get it out nowhere. And once I'm done reviewing this movie, that's pretty much it. I bought a Gundam the other day, so
I thought you were just gonna stop it. I bought a gun.
I was like,
just like flashing.
Oh, that's next. You think my black ass about to be caught out here slipping? No, thank you. The score for Mission Impossible, I realized that the score for Mission Impossible really drives Mission Impossible movies. Like the music really just pushes the action, and it's like nothing could be happening. But when you hear that fucking Mission Impossible score just ramp up, it really changes the perspective of things. Also, I don't know what the goal here is with the women in these movies. I can't tell who the love interests are with him and who are just women who are the action stars. Because there's something that happens in the movie and you're like, oh man. And then immediately after he's filling up another woman. And it's like, is this supposed to be happening? So it's just a little confusing for me.
Well, I mean, are you talking about like the rumors that him and Haley Atwell were together?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I heard those rumors too, and I was like, Haley, stay away. Like, girl,
and it looks in this movie, they have some scenes in here that it's like, okay.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Tom, I fucking get it.
We might not agree on the same taste in Scientology, but we damn sure got the same taste in women, I think.
I mean,
maybe
Pom Klemtef, I think too, as well.
Yeah,
is in this. I mean,
I mean, I do want to say like Mission Impossible has excellent casting. I do want to say that even when they had Jeremy Renner, it was still good casting for the role he was in.
Brian has beef with Jeremy Renner like I have beef with Taylor Swift.
No,
he slid that shit in there smooth as hell.
I guess I didn't have to come for Jeremy Renner that hard.
You gave for him.
Brian. That was props to you. That shit was smooth.
Cheers. That was well done.
I think he's like the only one in those Mission Impossible movies because he's like, hey, I'm action guy hero here to help. And Tom Cruise is like, I already do that. Get out of here. And then he's gone the next movie.
That was the equivalent of being like, and I hung out with Rick. Fuck that guy. Like it was like just like such an under your
Jeremy Renner is like he's like the Avengers guy at that point, right? So it's kind of like he steps into the scene and he's kind of like, I'm the Avenger guy, right? And Tom Cruise is like, bitch, I'm the Mission Impossible guy. So like, I see what you're saying.
So apparently, according to a rumor, like he had to leave the Mission Impossible filming because they had to do reshoots for Avengers. And like reportedly, Jeremy Renner was like, I'm ticked. Like, I want to do the new thing. I don't want to keep being an Avenger. So like, I get it. Anyway, I guess I didn't mean to come for you so hard, Jeremy Renner. I hope your leg's feeling better. Good luck with your reality show.
Brian, did we ask this when we talked about it? Is the Jeremy Renner app still a thing?
The Jeremy Renner app is no longer active on the App Store. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Please Google the Jeremy Renner app. I believe Danny Gonzalez did a very good YouTube video of what that app was. And it basically was just an app that was Instagram, but it was only Jeremy Renner posting, and you could use coins to comment. And that is also what colors my opinion of Jeremy Renner.
Hawkeye,
I mean, imagine if Ashley Madison had something, but it was just for Jeremy Renner, where you had to buy coins to message Jeremy Renner.
Who's that much of a Jeremy Renner fan?
I don't know.
That's the problem.
I don't know. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen on the internet. Like it's a positive. It's in the positive column. Anyway, Jeremy Renner, you're great. Your reality show on Disney Plus is great. Anyway,
there's a good article about it too.
Doug, leave it alone, because you're about to poke a bear. Leave it alone.
All right.
We should wrap this up.
You guys, we are in 90-minute monster territory.
The monster's here.
It's
sitting,
lurking somewhere. When is it going to hang out? When is
it's on the couch. It's on the couch. Like
it's on my left leg. Here.
I'm right here. We could talk. We could hang out. What do you want to do?
Nobody heard that. Doug, wait till you listen back to this episode and hear what I just said.
I didn't hear it either.
Nobody
heard neither it. One of us heard it.
No.
Wait till you.
Oh,
y'all want to know? Y'all want to know what I said?
Yeah, what'd you say? Come on.
You said, where is it at? Where it's sitting? Brian said it's sitting. I said it's sitting on my left leg.
Of course. I meant sitting on the couch next to me, but sure.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, man. We were so close.
It was so good.
I mean, it's right there. It
was right there. I was just set me up.
We were so close. All right, we're gonna make it. Gentlemen, what do you have to plug this week?
Hey, everybody. Let's talk about thelovenerds.com. My wife runs that website. She's great. She helps me. She listens to me as I talk about all these movies. She didn't watch Nimona, but guess what? She heard me talk about it a lot. So support her too. Thelovenerds.com. We'll link it in our podcast episode discussion for all your lifestyle blogging needs.
Absolutely. Marcus, what do you got?
Follow the mantra, never offended, always humble, music, merch, everything you need under the sun. You can go to myspreadshop.com/follow the mantra and get everything that you need. Go listen to some Soul Tie. Soul Tie is on a run right now with music. He's got I Like That. He's got Wait 1 Minute. He's got Time Out. He's also dropping some more music. So Soul Tie is not slowing down. Make sure you go tune in and lock into Soul Tie. You can stream some of my old music if you'd like. Marcus J. Destin, available everywhere. Also follow us on socials, Films in Black and White. The best way to follow us, or the best way to search us, if you're sharing it with somebody, is Films in Black and White podcast. If you only put in Films in Black and White, only movies in black and white will pop up. So put in Films in Black and White podcast in Google. You can follow us on Threads. You can follow us on Instagram, not Twitter. Just leave Twitter alone. Threads, Instagram.
Leave it alone. TikTok. Don't go there.
Follow us everywhere at Films in Black and White. Occasionally we will post a clip or two. Usually it's the funny shit.
Absolutely. I want to say about that Soul Tie thing. He dropped it was like an Instagram reel today of like the stuff he's working on. Shit sounds good.
It's good.
So yeah,
man.
it sounds really good.
Really proud of you.
I too want to plug this podcast. Recommend us to a friend or a family member. Maybe not last week's episode, maybe any of the other ones. But recommend us to a friend or a family member because we talk about cool stuff. Also, if you want, head over to patreon.com/films in black and white to sign up there. Help us support the podcast. We are working on something where we are going to help support the strike through our Patreon, whether that's if you join, if you donate to help the strike, we'll give you, we're working on it. Like, we're not sure what that's going to look like. We'll post it to our socials to sort of boost what Marcus said. Follow us on our socials, but there's stuff coming there to help us support, so we can support those and the writers and the actor strike. So more to come on that. But if you want, the biggest thing you can do right now, share us with a friend. Gentlemen, we have a 3-step process to success. Brian, run us down that first step.
Hey, folks. read a book. At the top of the episode, I was talking about all of the different books I was checking out. And yeah, one of them's about music. So if you like music, if you like hearing us talk about music and you want to know how does that music get made, or hey, what silly stories happen with my favorite artist, go read a book. You can find out right now.
It's true.
Read a book.
Read a book.
Love it. Marcus, what's the second step?
Sorry, my bad, Brian. I forgot to hit the button. I was typing up something. The second step is you want to make sure that you drink some water. You know what I mean? Make sure you drink some water. Go treat yourself to something nice. I don't know where you are currently when you're listening to this, but it feels hot. It's been some of the hottest days on the planet Earth, literally, in all of history, is what they said. So make sure that you are drinking some water, and doubling up on that too as well. Drink some water.
Yeah. And that third step is like, look, y'all, it's smoky. It's smoky just about everywhere. And that smoke gets everywhere. And you don't want to have a smoky ass. So make sure you get up in it with some water and some soap to clean it out and wash your ass. Because in addition to the heat, that's a sweat smoke combination that just don't come off without water and soap. So get up in it, wash your ass, take care of yourself. Everyone will thank you. So do that. We will be back next week with an outstanding episode of Films in Black and White. It'll be the Marcus and Doug show. So if you were one of our early listeners who want to reminisce of the glory days without the magic, without the magic.
Oh my gosh, magic of Brian Roush.
Will. That's what that'll be. In the meantime and the between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Word. Get your strike on, baby. Only white strike song I can